What's up, guys? It's Danny with Team No Star here. Here with our own Joshua Argo blah blah blah. He's here to bring you his third place Hatchiyack deck profile for the Louisiana 1K. So, and they gave out these awesome mats. So, Josh, let's get into this Hatchiyack deck profile. Tell some people about how it felt.
All right, felt really good against anything that's not blue. We blow out the King Vegeta matchup. It's super easy. They only get 2 attacks per turn, and we have a negate every turn. Against yellow, again, super easy. You just negate their attacks. They usually don't play a unison, and if they do, we kill it anyways. It really helps our leader on the awakened side is a 20k on swing, so it really helps us check unisons. Against black, Dark Broly, again, they don't play a unison, so it doesn't really matter. We just negate their attacks and then take 30k swings. We're not comboing over it. We just take it. We're at 8 life. We'll be at 6, maybe 4, and then we kill them anyways because we're gonna get to turn 6, and you know what that happens. So let's get on with the deck profile. Pretty standard. 2 blockers. I didn't feel like I needed more than 2. I always felt like I saw it. I mail out through the deck pretty much, and recurring it with Power Burst feels really good. Kotsukai, certain matchups like the yellow matchup, this comes in handy, including the cooler matchup. If you ever go against it, it's pretty cancerous, but you know, you're gonna need this card. It kind of blows it out if you are able to play your game. That, and you can recur it with Power Burst, and it's a 5k combo, which is really important sometimes, because sometimes you will need to combo out of some unison attacks because you won't have the negate in your hand. Our standard super combo will not be the Vegeta, it will be the Sun Goten. The reason for this is there are some points where we're never going to get to 4. It's never going to come up. You're going to stay at 5, 6 life, and it won't matter. You'll have this live possibly by turn 2. Very important in some matchups, especially super comboing over the Xeno Gogeta when they play thwarting at turn 1 or 2 and double strike you 25k, and you're not going to have a lot of combo in hand, so that comes in really handy. For our worst matchup, the A17.deck/Foos Rider Mystery, we have our Jiren, Survival of the Fittest. You guys know what it does. Super good. Also, if they do God Sealing Trunks it does come back to hand, but the full effect still happens, so you get your draw, and your hand does not shuffle into your deck. Just putting that out there for anybody that thinks otherwise.
That was me. I was the one that thought otherwise.
Yes. So now we have our hand control package of the deck. It blows out our worst matchups, which is Blue Baby. We're still working on the Soul Striker matchup, but we'll get it. We have 3 Demigra, 3 King Vegeta, and 3 SS4 Bardock. So I'm assuming not many of you know what this card does. It's a dual attacker overrun for 3 specific black energy, 30k, and on play, you get to choose 2 random cards from your opponent's hand and send it to the warp, which then feeds into your King Vegeta play, which requires 3 cards in the warp to play him for 2 energy. And Demigra, you know, this is the most OP black card in the game right now. Everyone knows what that card does. So, hand control package, these 2 are random, so it works out really well. And your opponent might get their only answers to your deck taken away, which is really helpful. Next is our Gogeta package.
I don't think Boo's a part of the Gogeta package.
It goes with the unison. That's the only reason why we play the Boo.
Okay.
And the unison, we need this unison for the Gogeta package. So the reason why I put the Boo out is because we recur it with the unison. I consider it a part of the Gogeta package only because the only reason we play the Boo is because of the unison, and the only reason why this package is worth anything is because of the unison.
Yeah, so tell people a little bit about that unison, because a lot of people aren't even running this.
So the unison, you can read it, but auto once per turn when you activate an overwhelm card, add a marker to this card. Just key facts, this doesn't work with Dark Overwhelm, so when you use Dark Overwhelm Demigra, you won't get into uptick. It's +1, you place 2 black battle cards from your warp to your drop area. It's really helpful because those 2 black battle cards could be the cards you need for either an Overwhelm or for your Gogeta play for Goku and Vegeta, which is really helpful.
And this is how we recur the Boo to make sure that our hand stays pretty hefty.
Exactly. And then our down tick 3, which makes this unison like actually really viable, is we're able to add up to 2 black battle cards with the powers between 20 and 30k from your warp to your hand. Then this card gets plus 15k and dual attack. That's really useful just because of the way the hatch decks usually work. You don't get a lot of attacks in, but because this is now a 20k dual attack, if you have your opponent at low life, that's one card every single attack from their hand. That's very useful. If you don't know what Gogeta does, you're living under a rock. It's really good. On the first attack, your opponent chooses 2 cards from the battle area, sends it to the warp. They choose 2 cards from hand, send it to the warp, and it's a triple attacker with blocker. And at the end of your turn, it untaps. By the way, the Goku and the Vegeta don't have to be the same power that's in the drop or in your hand, so it's really useful. We figured these 2 would be the best Gokus and Vegetas. Our Revive Ravager is good for some control matchups where we're able to aggro in heavily, especially with a crit. This helps with our hand control that we had a package for earlier. This helps get back some of our hand control package, or even a Majin Buu if we need it, and we just need some more combo in hand. This is our one of our best negates in the deck, and yeah, that's our Gogeta / Unison package for recurring the Gogeta package.
So Gogeta's a really good piece in this deck because we play slower anyways. We have time to get it out. The only problem is Gogeta doesn't have barrier or deflect, so it's really hard to let it stick. Usually it's not that bad to summon except against blue decks, which is one of the reasons why blue is our hardest matchup, is because they can just keep on putting our stuff back and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
depending on the kind of blue deck, it's either going to get to your hand with Godzilla Trunks, or rendered useless because of that one blue counterplay. I forgot what it was called.
Dirty Burst.
Dirty Burst, yeah. Card's dirty.
Yeah.
And then if they have the Bojack package, that Bojack with the Vegeta on it, that card's pretty nasty too. So yeah, it sucks. Next we have some of our flex spots. So this is the package that we use to try and beat our baby matchup, which I thought was going to be our hardest matchup, but ended up being Soul Striker, and we didn't see a single baby, which is great. The way this package works is the Bardock has a Spirit Boost effect. When you down take a marker with this card from Spirit Boost, you get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards in the drop area and send it to the warp. The main key piece to this is this 4 drops in Shenron. I'm pretty sure you guys haven't seen this card. If you have, that's great. It's a deflect, double strike, barrier, blocker.
So his first effect doesn't matter for us.
Yeah.
But the second effect allows us to Spirit Boost for 1, restand him, and then mill in a card. One of the reasons we're playing bullets is it also allows us to play bullets in that window for free. And this is really good because our Gohan upticks really, really easily. It's really easy to get Gohan a little out of control with the amount of
overwhelm and upticking that we have in it. So it's
yeah.
And plus we'll have our negates and our blockers, so the Gohan will stay at a high markers. So yeah, essentially we control their drop area. We control what cards are in the drop area. If they have a Goku Ape, we warp it. If they have a high costing battle card, we warp it, or they choose what to warp and they warp it. This also works on unisons. In some instances where they're going to play a unison that you think they're going to aggro you out with, they can, on counterplay for a unison card, they can either choose for every 2 cards in their drop, they have to down take that unison by 1. Most of the time, they're using a lot of cards in hand, they're comboing out, negates. So they'll be at least 4. So if they're playing a 3-drop unison, that's going to 1. They're playing a 2-drop unison, it's going to 0. But they can choose to not down tick it and just only attack once for that turn. So, it's worth for us because that one attack is probably going to get blocked or negate, and then we're good for the turn. And that's actually really helpful because it helps us keep our hand advantage, and it helps us keep our board advantage, so we won't have to use all of our blockers.
Bullets also allows us to do some outplays, potentially if they only have one thing left on board and they swing at it and they go all in. I know, so Josh and I played the same deck. I know during one of my matches they only had 1 card on board. I didn't negate, and then he dumped like 5 or 6 cards in hand. He had a pretty fat warp, and then I just used the bullets and he had to get rid of it. So
only card. Card's really good. Next is some of our extra cards. This card is super clutch, setting up for the Gogeta package. On negate, you can choose 2 battle cards from your warp and put them to your drop. That's really helpful, especially if you're trying to set up Gogeta or if you're trying to set up for overwhelm play. I don't think I used the card right. Danny said he used the card exquisitely correct, so, I'm proud of him. Yeah.
Yeah, but you got the top and I didn't, so maybe I'm wrong.
Who knows?
This card can also put back our Majin Buu if we don't have the Gohan out and we're needing draw power.
True, very true. Or if you already have the Gogeta package set up. To me, this is the best card in the deck, hands down. This is a 4 of. On Activate Battle, I use this defensively every single time. For turn 1, this is your turn 1 play, and you set up for your Demigra. You go to 25k. If they have any battle cards in drop, which they won't, they send it to the warp, and then you mill up to 4 cards from your deck. So up to is the key word. You can choose as many cards as you want, up to 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I choose 4 every single time, just so I can start thinning out through my deck. Plus 25k. It doesn't give the 15k to Unison, so be wary of that. It only does it to black battle cards and your black leader. It's the best card in the deck. It literally makes your game plan work. If you don't have this card, you're probably not going to win that game, to be honest.
So reference for why that's our most important card is because in our minds, playing Amigra on turn 2 is the best option we can go, since no deck can kill us. So going turn 1 when they swing into the extinction attack, into turn 2 playing Demigra is just really good. A lot of decks don't have answers for it, or they have to spend out their whole turn answering it, which feels good no matter what.
Or they have to top deck into a max power Kamehameha.
Or they have to top deck into a max power Kamehameha.
So, yeah. Next, generic negate package.
Yep.
Power burst. You guys know what it does. That's a 4 of. We can recur all of our 1-drops. Card's too good. This card. So, for one instance, this card's actually amazing. When you remove an overwhelm card, it stays on the board. So, the guy behind the camera used that to his expense. So, he used this to overwhelm Fighting Against Fate, and to remove the Fighting Against Fate, and then the next turn he just took it with our SCR. And now he had a 25k dual attacker that he didn't have to overwhelm for. So he told me about that, and I was like, wow, I didn't even know you could do that. But that's awesome. This really helps for a King Cold matchup as well. That 5-drop Frieza is a real big pain in our butts. Removing a random card from hand is not something we like to get done to us. We like to do it to other people. A 25k dual attacker with double strike is also a big pain in our butt, especially if we're not awakened yet, because our leader with just a Majin Buu extinction attack is going to get the 25k. And any more cards than that, it's just going to be super neg for us. So this card is just really helpful and useful for that reason. Just removing it for the turn, they're tapping out to 3, probably untapping with their leader to 2, back to 2 energy. We're not really worried about it. They're not going to attack us with anything else that's big because they can't. But yeah, this card is very helpful in that matchup. It's also helpful if your opponent already set up their battle card that they're going to swing with, and they're attacking with their leader or Unison first. We can outplay them by removing said battle card, and now they don't have a battle card to play with. Now this card's in our battle area, and we can combo it away against that leader or Unison attack. So yeah, it's pretty versatile. I think it's a really good card. We are thinking about removing it, but we are still in the works for it. I already showed you our SCR, Heroine's Lineage. It was between this or Kai, and I noticed that Kai is only good against our really bad matchups and pretty bland against every other matchup that we have because our deck just wipes them out anyways. So Heroine's Lineage kind of makes every matchup a little bit better, and it's cheaper to play too, so it's only 1 energy.
Yeah, Heron's Lineage is easily the best SCR for the deck. The other one that we considered was, like Josh said, Kai. We also considered I considered Black Smoke Dragon. They didn't consider it at all.
Nice.
But Heron's Lineage just turns out to be the best thing. It also allows us for some outplays. We actually have three cards mainboarded that allow us for outplays. It's Heron's Lineage, it is the Bullets, and then it's a card Josh is about to show that allows us to only take 1 life. But
Yeah.
it just gives us some room for outplays, which feels good in this deck. This deck's kind of, you have a lot of thought making decisions each turn, even though you might not feel like you do, on what you overwhelm, how you set up for Gogeta, how you want to remove cards from their hand, if you want to remove their field. So it just feels good to have extra stuff.
Yeah, that's perfectly explained. Next, the card that Danny was about to say is Mass Same, Brainwash No More. If you play black, you know what this card does. If you played against black and you try to double strike Champa them for game and they play this card on you, you definitely know what that card is. Activate Battle. Play 1 black. If your leader card is black and you discard this card from your hand, place 1 card from your life to your drop area and your leader card doesn't take damage for the battle. If for some reason your opponent is going in on a double strike Champa and dumps their entire hand on board, which has happened, and you have this card in hand with an energy up, you're golden. This card's... I didn't use it because apparently all my opponents were good. But yeah, this card's super clutch, counts for outplays, and I would never take it out of the deck. Next, we have another one of. There are some cases where our opponent plays blockers. We want to remove them. There are some cases where our opponent plays the 1-drop Goku and 1-drop Vegeta. We also want to remove those cards because they can get pretty annoying, especially when we start playing our negates and we have to warp a card from hand. Because like I said, we don't want to get hand control. We hand control, right? This also gives us another 25k attacker for free. We're just overwhelming, which isn't that bad. We can recur all of our cards with Gohan. We can also get this back with Gohan on his down tick -3. And it's a unison checker. It's pretty. It removes. It's a 25k attacker, and it's free. It's really good. This is also a card that I would not take out of the deck. Next, our third SCR, right? Champa. You know what it do. You know what it do. I would not drop it down from 2 at all. That card won me too many games, and I need it. And then my second SCR.
Yeah, Shrouded Mystery.
Cool thing about this card is you can actually recur it with the Gohan because it is a 30k. And even better part about it, you can play it back to back if you really wanted to. If you have an extinction attack on your turn 7, you swing with lead or you swing with unison after you down take and recur this back, and you mill 4 plus the unit plus the Boo. It's 5, and then you should have 5 cards in hand. You can combo, and then you play another Fu, and that's going to blow out your opponent. They're not going to know what to do. This card is the most broken card in the game right now, and I love it.
For the record, that does not come up very often. I didn't do it all weekend. I don't think Josh did it all weekend.
I did it once.
It's just, you did?
Yeah, I got Trunks, though.
It's just something that's fun to do if you can.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, if this is your only win con, you should probably reevaluate how you're playing the deck. The deck wins by out-resourcing your opponent, and the only reason why Soul Striker beats us is because they out-resource us.
Yeah.
So I truly do believe this is probably the best control deck outside of blue.
Let's talk about your sideboard.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk a little bit about the deck at the end.
Let's do it. 2 Deborah, 2 Demonic Absorption, 3 more different Deborahs, 2 Gohans, 1 more Secret ID, 2 Kakarots, 2 Max Power Max Kamehameha, and Dark Mask King, Deluge of Darkness. So first we're going to start with the Deborah. Anytime our opponent plays a card that requires an activate main to be used on play, we're probably going to Deborah it. Cards, for instances, is Supreme Kai SCR, the 5-drop green Frieza from King Cold. Those are the 2 main cards that I can remember that's what we use it for. Any other cards that you can remember that's what we use it for, Danny?
It's not bad into Celzino. It's not bad into things that like you don't want them to attack us with.
True. Yeah. So this Demonic Absorption, this is for pesky cards that have barrier and really hard to remove. We have Gogeta, so that should be able to remove the barrier cards as long as they don't go wide. But in case the Gogeta is not enough, we just side in the Demonic Absorption. I didn't side it in once this tournament, but it could be useful in the future, so I will keep it in the side. You know what this card does.
Yeah, our deck loses the green hand control really bad, so we had to have an answer for it. So
you know what it does. You know what it do. This card's pretty cool. So this card's effect is for every 10 cards in your opponent's warp, they take a life. And if your opponent takes a life, you take 1 life. So really cool thing about it, if you're at 1 and your opponent's at 1, their life goes to 0 first, you win first. So it's not a tie, you will win. Also, if they overwhelm, they're most likely going to have at least 15. And you can probably push him to 20 with our hand control cards, which sends the cards to the warp, but don't count on it. They're only going to have 10, like max 15. Yeah. So this card is definitely from either 1 to 0 or 2 to 1. It can sneak you a win, but I would count on it. I'd put it in the sideboard just so I can extend a little bit further. It has the flex, so it can't get trunks for the blue matchup. Even if they boo down ticket, the effect still goes off, so I will get a life off the attack, and that for me is just worth enough. Especially that it doesn't go to the drop area, it goes to the warp. Again, another good card for the blue matchup. The Sen Gohan, changing history. You know what it does. Anytime they untap an energy with a counter skill, they lose an energy and they lose a life. It's really cool. As soon as I play this card, they have to start thinking about how they're going to use their D-Magics. If they play Wee's Coercion, which I haven't seen that card in ages, same thing. If they play Big Bang Attack for the baby deck, same thing. And if they play the crab guy, I don't know what his name is.
So this card is good into baby. It's not good into Soul Striker, for the record.
Yeah, Soul Striker untaps with their leader, which is not a counterattack, and they don't need to. They can just out-combo everything else or block it. Secret Identity, in case we need more removal, more free stuff to play, and another 25k for those matchups that I said before in the deck profile. That's why you'd play another one. This card, so for decks that they swing with either a Demigra consistently or a Double Striker every single turn, it's going to get annoying, especially if they're able to keep recurring that said Double Striker or said Demigra. We just want to remove it as quickly as possible and have a blocker while negating it. So that's why we play the Kakarot. It also has Revenge, so that's why it kills it.
It's good into Dark Broly, which I didn't cite it into my Dark Broly matchup, which might be why I tied with him and ended up not getting top 8.
Yeah, it kills the Dark Broly matchup. Like they're only swinging with the Dark Broly and then their leader, and like you just kill it. Again, for those matchups that you need removal / recursion of your negates because they're going to be attacking with Double Strikers a lot. Max Power Kamehameha is definitely very clutch. Countering and then recurring it to your hand because you're going to have enough cards in drop is very useful. Just be careful of what cards you're putting into the drop from the warp because you might be screwing up your Gogeta play and or Overwhelm play that you might want to set up for the next turn. And other than that, yeah, just be careful with that. The card's really good. Removes Demigra, removes 5-drop 8, removes Kai, removes Celzino if you stop it with Deborah. It removes a lot. It removes a lot because there is a lot of cards in this game that come out cheap, even though they're expensive.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at this deck, guys, just as a heads up, if your locals is almost pure blue, don't pick this deck up. I can't stress this enough. Josh thinks he's going to find a way to beat it. I don't think there's a way to beat it. But if you play against Soul Striker, unless they draw dead, there's almost no way to win. Yeah. I hate to be that guy, but it's really just that hard of a matchup.
The only way you win that Soul Striker matchup is if they don't have a Unison on 3, or if they do have a Unison on 3, they don't have the Godsmoon Trunks in hand.
The only matchup that I saw our deck even get close to beating blue was you when he didn't open up any counter plays for like 7 turns, and even then you still got.
I still lost.
You still lost.
So it happens. What I recommend is if your locals is filled with a bunch of aggro, play this deck. If it's filled with a bunch of hand control, you can outplay that deck with the Deborahs. Just main them if that's what your BO1s are filled with. If they're filled with black decks, play this deck. If you love control and your locals isn't playing blue, play this deck. The baby matchup is winnable. It's not easy. It's definitely like 45-55 in their favor still. The Soul Striker matchup is more of like a 80-20. 20% for us. So
20% that we scoop right when we sit down, like I did.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
So guys, this deck feels amazing, and I do mean amazing, into everything else other than blue. So if your locals only has one blue player, pick this deck up, stomp. This deck is, there's a lot of intricacies with it that you might not think about in order to win, but it's a lot of fun. You're going to tilt your opponent, which was my main goal. I sat across from the Dark Broly player that I tied with, and he just got salty that I was even there. Mm-hmm. But luckily, Josh came back, and he got the win for me.
Oh, yeah.
So, Josh, what kind of shout-outs you got to give before we close this out?
Boy, I've been waiting for this. I want to shout out my boy over at the West Coast, Orion Monterosa. That's the homie. He helped me test with blue, especially the baby matchup. That was the only reason why I was able to have an idea of how to win that matchup. I like the rest of my team, Team No Star. That's where we at, baby. We got my boy Jose over there. He's been helping us testing for months now. Behind the camera, Danny Maxey. I love you guys. And yeah, I'd like to shout out my locals too at TBS Comics over in Fort Walton Beach and in Pensacola. So I had a great time, and I hope to see you guys again real soon.